did in our first bout tonight, a second-round knockout of Russ Wilson. And now we go to the U.S. Light Welterweight Championship, scheduled for 10 rounds. Should be a good one. Ken Comer and Leroy Taylor here in Akron. And let's meet these two fighters. And we are just about set to go to our ring announcer, Dave Dysart. Dave getting in the ring. Leroy Taylor, who, of course, has gone 2 fights already with Jerry Trimble, wants another crack at Trimble. Leroy out of Baltimore, Ken Comer from Detroit.
Presenting a 10-round bout for the PKC United States Light Welterweight Championship. Brought to you by Trippers Nightclub, Warner Cable, and Don Willis Martial Arts Center. Introducing first in the red corner, from Detroit, Michigan, he is 25 years old, stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, and weighed in at 146 pounds. His American kickboxing record is 16 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw, with 9 of those wins by knockout. He is rated number 4 in the world by the Professional Karate Commission. Welcome, please, Ken Comer. And in the blue corner, from Baltimore, Maryland, he is 30 years of age, 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighed in at 147.9 pounds. His contact karate record is 16 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw, with 5 of those wins by knockout. He is rated number 1 in the world and is the former light welterweight champion of the world. Welcome, please, Leroy Taylor.
So we've met Leroy Taylor and Ken Comer, and now let's learn a little more about these two exciting fighters.
Our scoring judges are Mike Sherman, Carol Willis, and Brian Lentz. Our kick judges are Glenn Willis and David Counts. Our PKC supervisor is Glenn Keeney.
And now we want to find out a little more about Leroy Taylor and Ken Comer. Baltimore's Leroy Taylor is a proud man who grew up having to fight for everything he got.
But like I say, things have really been hard for me coming up, and pretty much still is.
It's safe to say that professional karate is Leroy's life, and he doesn't take it lightly when someone tries to take something from him that he loves. Last April at Karate Mania, Jerry Trimble won the world title from Taylor when the two collided heads in a no-fault foul. Taylor took the loss extremely hard.
I was robbed.
Trimble met Taylor in a grudge rematch in October at the Limelight in Atlanta. But after all the bitter pre-fight hype, both men showed a tremendous amount of respect for one another. There was more speed and finesse than there was contact in that bout. 12 rounds later, the results were inconclusive, and it ended in a decision. Disappointed with his overall performance, Taylor went back to the gym with a vengeance. Now he's recharged, and he faces Detroit's Ken Comer for the vacant PKC U.S. title tonight. It will not be an easy battle. Taylor's opponent is the number 4 world contender. To this point in his career, Ken Comer has proven his grit. Most recently, he stopped Leo Laux and Terry Norblum with his powerful overhand right. Ken Comer feels he's the uncrowned light welterweight champion of the world, and he sees a victory over Taylor as a final, long, overdue opportunity for a world title shot.
I do feel as if I've waited a long time for a shot at a world title. I will use this U.S. title fight as a stepping stone. I'm not going to let Leroy Taylor form my plans to knock out Jerry Trimble.
A very confident Ken Comer, number 4 in the world. Leroy Taylor, number 1. And Truman Irving's our 3rd man in the ring for this upcoming U.S. Light Welterweight Championship.
I expect you to conduct yourselves as professionals throughout this bout. That means there is absolutely no holding at any time. I'll give you 2 warnings. After that, you will be penalized each time you hold. You both understand that. There's no kicking or striking below the waist. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect, is not in effect. It has been waived. Gentlemen, go to your corners, come back, and begin the contest. Good luck and good health.
Boom, boom, Jeffrey on who won the stare down there.
I really don't know, Brad, but I asked Joe before. about Taylor. You know, Taylor, I saw him fight a couple of times, and he was not the same Taylor that I knew before with his speed and his smartness. I don't know. It's going to be a great fight with Ken Comer.
We're in round one, scheduled for 10. Leroy Taylor on the right of your screen. The black fighting pants with the gold stripe. Ken Comer out of Detroit, Michigan, circling to his left.
You notice there that Truman Irving corrected himself. He said the 3 knockdown rule has been waived. Normally 3 knockdowns in a round, the fighter who's knocked down 3 times loses, but in title fights, U.S. and world title fights, that's automatically waived and given to the discretion of the referee as to whether or not he stops the fight.
Early stages here, round one.
Come on, don't let him wait. Give me 4.
Leroy Taylor,
Come on, don't let him wait. Let him wait.
constant movement around the ring to his left. Comer has been content to be right in the middle of the ring. Neither fighter has really taken the offensive here.
Brad, I think that Leroy Taylor has got a longer reach, not only with his arm, but with his legs also. And I think it's going to be a little tough for Ken Comer to get inside of him.
You're right, and Comer's going to have to do that in order to beat Taylor. Somebody asked me ahead of the fight what I predicted. I said I predicted a decision for Taylor unless Comer could get in and really force him to fight in close and in tight for the majority of the fight.
Taylor's not afraid to mix it up, though, Joe.
Not at all. He fought Ishmael Robles down in El Paso a couple of years ago. Everybody thought that Robles would really dominate Taylor on the inside, but was not the case. Taylor very strong with his punches inside.
Each fighter got a pretty good punch in there a few moments ago. Taylor with a spinning back fist that did connect, and Comer came right back with an overhand right of his own. It was an overhand right that missed. And we are starting to wind down round one. 9 more to go.
What did Moet do after making great champagnes in France? Chandon. Chandon, California's encore to champagne.
With Boom Boom Jeffrey on it, Joe Corley back in Akron. I'm Brad Nessler, and we are set for round 2. Scheduled 10-rounder for the U.S. Light Welterweight Championship. Very close round 1. Really a lot of the two fighters trying to find each other, Joe. There wasn't a lot of action. How do you score a round like that?
Well, I gave that round to Leroy Taylor 10 to 9.5, and as Boomer will tell you, the reason we have that half-point system in karate is so that if a round is real close, you don't have to go 10-9. In this case, I asked myself which fighter was more effective. I couldn't say either one. Which was the more effective kicker? Obviously, Boomer, that was Leroy Taylor. You see he's using those long legs you were talking about.
I have to say yes, Joe, because like I said before, Comer, if he doesn't get inside of Taylor, I don't see how he's going to win. I mean, I understand that Comer, I saw him fight before, he's got a great right. If he can connect on Taylor, but you know, we've got a long ways to go. It's only the second round.
Taylor doubles up with a kick, and Comer comes in tight on the ropes. Now Taylor trying to fight his way out. And now they are in close, and this is where Comer is supposed to shine, but Taylor may be getting the best of this exchange early.
Taylor right now is punching primarily with arm power. He's not putting a lot of force in his punches. Just as I said that, of course, he unloaded good power in the left-right combination.
Leroy Taylor not letting Ken Comer out of there. Short left hook may have had Comer in a little bit of trouble. Another right connects, and Taylor won't ease off at all. He's got Comer stuck in the corner.
Well, I don't think he can get out of there because he's got his head cut, you know. When he put his head down like that, Taylor just went with a great counter punch under. And that's why the referee's right there close to watch.
This is definitely a much more aggressive Leroy Taylor than we've seen in the last couple of fights. And he has taken control here in round 2. There's another good overhand right. And Comer trying to lie down and regroup for round 3.
Sundays on CBN.
We thought you might be able to help us find our sister. Cheyenne took us.
The West, a hostile place for two blood brothers on a do-or-die quest.
We will ride to hell and back if that is what it takes.
Gritty, realistic, starring Kurt Russell and Tim Matheson.
We work pretty well together, don't we?
The Quest, Sundays on CBN. Just watch us.
Turner Cable's 6-week preview of our 7 premium channels is now history. You remember the first-run films, classics, and specials, and how much you liked them? Well, they don't have to end, because if you call 271-3536 now and order one or more of our premium channels, we'll waive all upgrade charges and give you this movie treasury free. Come on, call 271-3536 now, because the best TV is not on TV.
Honey, they accept...
There's a bell to start round 3. Round 2 was all Leroy Taylor, Joe Corley, and I don't think that Comer got all his kicks in either.
I don't see how he could have. Taylor kept him in the corner pinned there. Not a real good move for Comer. He should have done something to get himself out of trouble there. I'm not real sure how many kicks he missed in that last round. I'll see if we can't get that information here at ringside.
You know, when he got caught in the corner by Taylor, I count only 4 kicks on that round. So he's going to have to be penalized on that round. That's why that I give the first 2 rounds to Taylor.
I think Truman Irving, the referee, said that Comer had 7 kicks in that second round, which is under the required minimum, and he went over to tell him about it, and Comer was shaking his head and said, I got more than that in, but as we mentioned, he couldn't have gotten too many in because he was totally inactive in the blue corner with Leroy Taylor having pinned him on the ropes.
Remember, he has to make up that kick. You're right. It was 7 kicks he got. He has to make up that kick. That means he has to get 9 powerful kicks in this round, and he loses a point for the one that he missed in the last round, and he can't make up that point, but he has to make up the kick.
Kind of like intentional grounding in football.
It's
penalized, you lose the down as well.
It's what our friend Jay Will called a double penalty. You penalize the point, and then you have to come back and make up the kick and expend extra energy in the next round.
Comer's looked much better here in round 3, but Taylor's still in control. There's a nice right.
Beautiful timing on that move by Leroy Taylor. He picked away with the foot and then just drilled that right hand in there. I'm surprised Comer stood up under the force of that right hand. Didn't seem to faze him.
Leroy Taylor has controlled this fight, going for the U.S. Light Welterweight Championship, and it looks like it might be his if he can go 7 rounds or less on Ken Comer. Nice right hand. Just underway here in round 4. Leroy Taylor and Ken Comer scheduled for 10 rounds. And Leroy Taylor, Joe Corley, and Boom Boom Jeffrion, I think, has pretty much owned the first 3 rounds, hasn't he?
I have to say yes, Brad. You know, I've been watching Taylor. I think Taylor's kicks are more powerful than Comer. Maybe Comer has a bigger right than Taylor, but as far as I'm concerned, the way I've just been seeing this 2 fighter, Taylor's been having the advantage of the right or the left.
We know the PKC has a rule that the kicks that you throw have to be hard, powerful kicks, and the reason that rule was established was to keep fighters from relying on those kinds of kicks like you see Comer throwing now. That's a front leg flip round kick that he's throwing into the body, not really intending to do much damage with it. Whereas, as you say, Boomer, Leroy Taylor is just blasting power off the front leg and off the back leg as he throws it.
Each of these fighters with 16 career wins, but of course Taylor's already held a championship. Comer working toward that. He's got a ways to go from what we've seen in the first 3 rounds. Here now in the midway point of round 4.
Leroy Taylor is a survivor. As he said before, he's had to fight for everything he's ever had. Nothing's ever been given to him easily, and even though he's laid back, and some people thought he wasn't real hungry in that last fight with Leroy Taylor, or with Jerry Trimble, I guarantee you Leroy Taylor is not going to give away anything.
Well, you know, Brad, Comer, I've been watching Comer now in this round, and I'm watching this kid. The only thing now that he wants to do is to knock him out with his. He knows he's got a tough right hand.
And we do have more action at the end of round 4, just as Boomer mentioned that. Both fighters with good combinations, and Taylor's going to finish the round strong. And Leroy Taylor back to his corner.
That right hand of Leroy Taylor backed Comer up. You know he felt the power of it. It backed him up. And Taylor's got such speed and snap on that right hand that it really takes a toll on you.
I quite frankly didn't know Taylor had this kind of punching power, Joe, just because the last couple of fights with Trimble, as we mentioned, have been a little bit lackluster, I think, performance-wise from him.
both of those fighters, Taylor and Trimble, were so fast in their last bout. They had so much respect for one another. Here's the right hand coming up where Taylor backed Comer out of the corner. But Taylor and Trimble were so fast they couldn't find each other throughout their last 12 rounds.
Boom, boom, we expected a lot out of Comer because of his, what we thought would be his hunger to get to a title shot. And as I mentioned, he's got a ways to go, doesn't he?
I have to say yes. You know, I think Taylor's, with all of his experience for championship fighter, what have you, he sees that Comer is always wide open.
Taylor is picking up confidence too. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his body language now.
Wild spinning back kick, excuse me, Joe, to start that 5th round. Look at Taylor put them together. It's like a left jab there, only he's doing it with the slide-up side kick.
One of our favorite pieces of video in karate was Leroy Taylor, as he did 15 of those going across the ring at Mike Brennan in the welterweight division back 5 years ago in Atlantic City.
Taylor, at age 30, out of Baltimore, weighed in at 147.9, and Comer at 146. Ken Comer's showing, I think, a lot of respect at this stage for Leroy Taylor. Too much, maybe.
You know, Brad, I honestly believe that Comer, if he stays away from Taylor, he doesn't have a chance. I mean, this is my own opinion. He has to get him inside, or else, how can you block those long legs?
I've got Taylor leading by 3.5 points. Truman Irving stopped the time then, warning Leroy Taylor for a headbutt. As Taylor was a little off balance, he leaned his head forward as he straightened up, caught Comer under the chin. Comer protesting.
Some of our viewers might say, well, that was a little quick on the part of Truman Irving, but back in the 2nd round, he warned Leroy Taylor for the headbutt, and thus this time the 2nd warning, and there goes the point. So Taylor losing the point that Comer also lost with the lack of kicks in round 2. So in that respect, they're even.
You know, Brad, is another thing that I remark also. After he hit, it doesn't matter if it's a left or a right. He brings both of his hands down. And
What did Moet do after making great...
Brad Nessler with Boom Boom Jeffrey on it. Joe Corley at the NECI Convention Center in Akron, Ohio. Set for round 6 of a scheduled 10-rounder. For the U.S. Light Welterweight Championship, Leroy Taylor and Ken Comer, and each has had a point taken away for a various foul here in this fight. Lack of kicks in round 2 took a point from Comer, and in that last round, Leroy Taylor with a headbutt also deducted a point.
you know, Brad, like I was saying before we went away, I was saying that I remark Comer every time that he throw a left hand or the right hand, Joe, also, that he brings his 2 arms down. I don't know if it's the fatigue or what, but you see a guy like Taylor with his experience, he will take advantage of this.
That Taylor is taking advantage of pretty much everything that Comer's doing, specifically, and most importantly, the fact that Comer's not establishing any kind of kicking game at all. Taylor knows he has nothing to worry about from the kicks of Ken Comer. Every once in a while, Comer will try to throw a powerful back leg round kick, but primarily he's just trying to tap with the front leg, left leg flip kick.
Boom Boom, the cornerman of Comer, told him exactly what you mentioned. In between the 5th and 6th round in his corner, they said, you're dropping your hands and don't duck when you throw the punch. So he's doing a couple of things wrong, and both of them could cost him against an experienced guy like Leroy Taylor.
Well, Brad, this is what he did in the 2nd round on the corner.
Just got tagged on a combination by Taylor, too, and now Taylor's starting to go back to work. Best round was the 2nd.
Comer definitely felt both those punches, but he pulled himself back together pretty quickly, showing you what kind of condition Comer must be in. He must be in excellent shape.
Both fighters back in center ring, and Taylor trying to put the combinations together. Upset with himself that he had the point taken away in the last round. Truman Irving went over to explain exactly what happened to him during the break.
You know, here's the guy like Taylor.
Up.
Yeah, Brad, here's a guy like Taylor. You think he's going to give 200% against Comer because he wants to have another rematch with Thurman.
You know, Comer just had him where he wanted him, maybe. Finally backed into the blue corner, and Taylor said, well, I'll take a seat here because I know this round's just about over anyway.
You standing back, look, you throw him in the corner. Don't look at him. Get him.
Corner man of Ken Comer not too happy with him. Leroy Taylor pretty calm in his corner.
You understand? Take a deep breath.
A lot less commotion in Leroy's corner, too. That's got to be a peaceful feeling for him at this stage. Sylvester Cash and Mike Panther's working his corner.
This guy looks good. Taylor, you got to give him credit.
Boomer, he looks a lot better than the last time we saw him against Jerry Trimble.
Yeah.
Of course, Ken Comer's not Jerry Trimble either. There's a nice straight overhand right, and there's the left hook that followed it. Nice combination.
See the good sharp eyes then of Leroy Taylor watching the target, but Comer wisely got his head out of the way of that third shot.
You know, Brad, like I said, you see the two punch that Taylor gave him, Comer had both hands down. You know, I mentioned Thurman before that this is my mistake. That's Trimble.
Jerry Trimble, the man that Leroy Taylor wants for a third go-round. And this is the best he's looked in quite a while. He might be in line for another shot at the Golden Boy. Ken Comer fully aware, I think, at this stage that he is not only going to have to get active, but maybe knock Leroy Taylor out to have a chance to win this fight.
Saw how easy then Leroy Taylor picked up his left leg and popped Comer on the right side of the head with it. Didn't look like much effort. A lot of power, though, really snapped Comer's head, that front leg round kick.
You know that Taylor, Brad, you know, he kicks so beautifully. He kicks, you know, he looks like a ballet dancer. Every time that he kicks, it's perfect.
Comer doesn't want to try to jam those kicks or run over them either. He keeps giving distance. He does not try to get inside the kicks of Leroy Taylor.
Comer doubles up a couple kicks, and Taylor with tremendous balance, as you see again there.
Notice how he doesn't lean his upper body over at all as he picks up his leg to throw the kick. It's hard enough for the average person just to get his leg up in the air, but to throw it with power and to keep your upper body that straight is very, very difficult.
Leroy Taylor looking very sharp and very confident here in round 7. He's controlled things to this point. Comer finally backs him up in the corner again, but Taylor's going to fight his way out. And a nice combination again by Leroy.
Quite frankly, Comer's not showing me the kind of desire or hunger that I thought he would here, Boomer.
Well, you're right for that because, you know, when we talked to him, so he got him pretty good there.
Spinning back fist right on the jaw, buckled Taylor for a second. Looked like Comer was a little off balance, couldn't follow up on it.
Leroy's hurt, and he's going to try to make it through the final 5 seconds here to get his faculties back. He definitely was stunned by that spinning back fist of Comer's, and that could change the whole complexion of the fight. I still think Leroy Taylor probably had the better of Comer during about a minute and 50 seconds of that round, but that last 10 seconds can change your attitude a little bit, Boomer.
You're right, Brad. There we're going to see the hit right there. Here's the spin. Oh, he did.
Taylor with his leg up in the air, he's a little off balance, but you see he gets it back together pretty quickly. Watch Taylor's eyes come back pretty quickly there.
Two tremendous angles that we get on that shot, and Leroy Taylor now looks a little bit different in the corner. Head down, still listening to his corner man, but the last couple of rounds he stared straight ahead and been fully aware that he was in command, and he was just kind of doing his own thing out there. Now he's changed his mind just a little bit about Ken Comer.
And it's strong at the end of every round.
You know, Brad, I look at those guys, the conditioning has to be outstanding. You know, after receiving a punch like he did right there on the spin, I mean, he's back there, and he's waiting for the bell, and he's ready again. He's got to be in terrific condition.
Leroy wisely taking every moment he could over on the stool in his corner, but he's done that since the beginning of the fight, not something that last punch dictated. See now how Comer responds here in the 8th round, whether or not he goes back to the attack and tries to push the fight on Leroy Taylor a little bit. He still has to because he hasn't been down, hasn't had Leroy Taylor down, and still probably needs a knockout to win the fight.
Well, you're right for that, Brad, because if the kid now, Comer, doesn't move for the next 2 or 3 rounds, I think the ball game is over.
I've got Taylor at 68.5 points. I've got Comer at 64.5, so I've got him 4 points down. Comer's going to have to come on real strong, real fast.
Oh, you know, if he keeps going like that, Brad, I'm sorry, he's going to run out of rounds.
Truman Irving now over in Leroy Taylor's corner, I think just to get somebody to sit down over at ringside. And that time did stop the clock, so we'll pick it up from that point here in round 8. Ken Comer with his back to you, Leroy Taylor on your right. Taylor with the overhand right, and that one missed.
He's landed 2 or 3 of those relatively solidly in this fight. Comer just continues to give him too much range.
Taylor seems to be all right after being dazed at the end of round 7. But Comer not nearly active enough. Would have thought he would have followed that and tried to do something. And it looks like he's trying to load up for one big one, and that won't do it.
You know what, Brad? I think he's a little fatigued. I'm a little tired, Comer. He doesn't have that strength on his punch like he had the first or second round. But, you know, receiving all those kicks by Taylor, I mean, you got to lose your win once in a while.
That's right. Comer continuing to wait for the one big shot and never had the opportunity. And we follow Leroy Taylor back to his corner.
Put the ice on his back.
2 rounds or less to go. And neither fighter's been down. Perfect type of round for Leroy Taylor to get his feet back under him. Ken Comer just didn't push it, and that's exactly what Leroy would have hoped for.
Comer is going to have to dig down. If he wants to pull this out. He's going to have to knock him out, and it's going to be tough. It'll be tough for Comer to take Taylor out. Taylor's confidence is too strong, I believe, at this point.
I have to say yes. I agree with you, Joe and Brad. I think that Taylor is just an outstanding kickboxer. I mean, the guy is he's got all the tools in the world, and I don't know. I like to see Trimble him again. Like we saw the last one. That was both were Speedy Gonzalez.
They sure were. I got to think that the Golden Boys watching this somewhere, maybe back in Atlanta tonight. Brad Nessler, Boom Boom Jeffriana, Joe Corley with you from Akron, Ohio. Crowd has really enjoyed our action so far tonight, and they've seen a good performance, at least from Leroy Taylor, and one good spinning back fist from Ken Comer through 8 rounds plus. Some of the fans starting to yell for a knockout. They know that's what it's going to take for Comer. There's no doubt about that anymore. Nice round kick by Leroy Taylor, and that one connected to Comer's head.
That side kick that he throws is just so easy. He just picks it up, sticks it up. You notice again that he doesn't lean back at all as his leg just smashes Comer right up under the nose.
The thing that's hard to defend, Joe, I would think, is that kick gets there as fast as his punches do.
He picks his knee up very high, cocks his foot back very close to his body, and gets his heel in the shot just about as effectively as anybody in the sport.
And Joe, not only that, he keeps his balance so well.
Leroy's starting to get back in a groove now. You can just sense it. He's picked up the pace. He's connected with several different punches and kicks this round. Good left jab again.
It's funny, when Taylor's inside trying to flurry, he seems to throw primarily arm punches. But when he's out at a distance and loads up, he gets good body behind his shot.
Another good left jab followed by an inside right there. And he just missed with that short right hook, or Comer may have been in trouble. That one had a lot behind it. Let's stay right here at the end of this 9th round, and there's the big right, and down goes Comer. Will he make it back up before the round is over? First time one of these fighters has been down in this fight. Comer's made it to his feet. Truman Irving with a 8 count, and the bell sounds to end the 9th round. And Comer is wobbly on his way back to his corner.
Oh, he really cut him good. Really cut him good.
You could just feel Leroy Taylor picking up the pace. And we'll see some of the action from that 9th round knockdown. Leroy Taylor waits for the opening. There's the left, and the right comes right in on the money. and down goes Comer.
Yeah, you watch. You watch after.
Watch his
Comer
body in the right
look
hand.
at it. You see where these two ends are? Way down.
You're
no
exactly
protection
right.
whatsoever.
Exactly right. Hands down, and Taylor had the body power behind that punch. You saw the whole right side of his body pivot into the right hand.
Hey, look, you don't fool around with Taylor. When you see an opening, you can be sure he's going to give it to you. I mean, he's there to win the fight. He's not there to give you Christmas is over.
Who's the champ? To the feet. Who's the champ? To the feet. Who's the champ? To the feet. All right, champ. All right, champ.
That's a little psych job by the corner.
Super Feet, that's Leroy's nickname for himself. Who's the champ? Super Feet.
Well, the feet have been good, but that last right hand in the 9th round was a beauty. And Comer now needs a knockout to win. And Leroy Taylor has this one well in hand in the 10th and final round. Taylor, the #1 contender. Ken Comer ranked #4. And Jerry Trimble watching this fight and thinking about a third shot with Leroy Taylor.
I don't think that he's got to yell in the corner super feet. I think he's got the super feet as far as I'm concerned.
What's running through Taylor's mind right now, Joe? Does he know that he's got the fight in hand and not want to get too crazy in here, or does he want to go back and try to knock Comer down again?
I think Taylor is the kind of guy who doesn't get in and take unnecessary chances, but if he can show off a little bit, he will. I don't think he tries to get overconfident.
Leroy Taylor appears to be on his way to his 17th win.
You know what, Joe? I'm really surprised that Comer didn't try to get inside more than he did.
Yeah, that his lack of hunger and the desire we thought was going to be there just wasn't there. Taylor now obviously very confident.
My question may go answered here in a second. We wondered if Taylor would try to knock Comer down one more time, and he's certainly working in that direction with 25 seconds to go. Big overhand right. Comer's in trouble again. There's another right. Taylor's got him in the corner with 15 seconds to go, and Leroy Taylor in command. And Comer is hurt again. Comer's hurt again, trying to punch back, but Taylor's going to win it, and Comer's going to survive it. Leroy Taylor still throwing the leather at the bell. And Ken Comer with arms raised. I think just because he survived the fight, Boom Boom Jeffrion. The crowd enjoyed that, especially the last couple of rounds when Leroy Taylor was hurt at one point by the spinning back fist and definitely came back strong in the last couple of rounds.
Well, he was hurt, Brad, but I don't think that he was that bad to, you know, he came right back. We're going to see the action right now.
Leroy Taylor again with Comer pinned in Leroy's corner.
Yeah, but look at his end again. You know, the first punch, he's bringing.
Taylor hurrying himself a little bit too much here. He was not quite able to find the targets that he wanted. Taylor wasn't, because he was hurrying just a little bit. Got a little bit too frantic there. And Comer, to his credit, kept a fairly good defense, Brad, during that final exchange.
Well, Leroy Taylor and Ken Comer, and it's over after 10 rounds, and certainly it appears that Leroy Taylor has won the fight, which would make him 17-3. And we're going to find out the decision on this fight, one that appears to be in the back pocket of Leroy Taylor, but we won't know until we get the official word from the judges. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll find out if indeed Leroy Taylor has won this fight over Ken Comer. Stay where you are. We'll have the decision after this. Yes. Our ring announcer, Dave Dysert, has the official decision on this one. Let's find out who won it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision. Judge Sherman scores the fight 99-90. Judge Willis scores the fight 98.5 to 93.5. Judge Lentz scores the fight 98.5 to 93.5. The winner the United States PKC lightweight welterweight champion, Leroy Taylor!
Leroy Taylor, unanimous decision winner. Didn't pitch a shutout, but it was pretty close, as he had no problem at all, really, with the number 4 contender, Ken Comer. And let's go up and have a chat with Leroy Taylor, who's a happy man. Joe Corley's with him. Joe?
Leroy, great comeback. Most people felt in your last fight with Jerry Trimble, Leroy wasn't there, but he seemed to be back.
I was too much worried about the headbutt with Jerry Trimble, but now, you know, I'm 30 years old and have a few more years to fight, so I'm going to give all these guys, if they're young guys, I'm going to give them the best fight of their career. And I'm not ready to give it up yet, Joe.
You know, you're such a laid-back guy. Most people who talk to you outside the ring just don't understand how fiercely competitive you are and how badly you want to hold on to what you get.
That's true. That's true, because, like I said before, you know, I struggled all my life, and I'm still struggling, you know, but I'm going to make something of my career. And I'd like to say hello to my mother in the House of Koshoto Karate Club, and everybody back in Baltimore, Maryland, and Kirk Smoke, you're going to win for Mayor of Baltimore City. Thanks, Joe, and hello, Trimble.
Speaking of Trimble, we know he's there watching in Atlanta tonight. The last fight, quite frankly, was not the most exciting fight from a spectator's point of view. I think the fight world is going to want to see you take on a couple of more guys before you guys get back in the ring together. Who do you think are your next 2 opponents?
I don't know. I have to look in the ratings because everybody's going up and down. I didn't know what Comer was rated, but he is one tough man.
Yeah.
One tough man. I need 2 more fights like that, and then me and Trump will be ready to go. 15 rounds.
Well, Leroy Taylor is back, Brad Nessler, and I know Jerry Trimble there in Atlanta is watching, and I know Trimble is looking to another shot, a more convincing end to a fight with Leroy Taylor the next time out.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. And indeed, the Golden Boy